I used to think the stupidest thing I ever did in college was stay up 3 nights in a row to finish an AI project. Until the day I agreed to tutor the younger brother of the person I secretly loved. If someone had told me back then that this part-time job would give me both the happiest days of my youth and nights that felt like my heart was being crushed, I would have refused without hesitation. But life never shows us the ending in advance. It just smiles, opens the first door, and lets us walk through on our own. And my door began with a lie. I already have a boyfriend. Nathaniel said that at the welcome party for the new school year. I heard it clearly. I was standing just a few meters away, holding a cup of soda and pretending to watch the football game on the big screen in the student union apartment. A blonde girl had just confessed her feelings to Nathaniel. He smiled politely.
I'm sorry.
She laughed awkwardly. Does he go to our school? Nathaniel paused for a beat.
No.
Where then? Far away. Long distance. Nathaniel just smiled. We're doing fine. The girl nodded and walked off. It should have ended there. But my mind didn't let it. Boyfriend. Nathaniel had a boyfriend. Those 2 words landed like a stone dropped into a lake I'd worked so hard to keep calm for almost a year. I had never confessed. Never given him a signal. Never let Nathaniel know I liked him. And yet, in just a few seconds, the tiny hope I'd kept hidden vanished. I quietly slipped out of the party before anyone noticed. That night, I deleted every message I'd never sent, still sitting in my phone. There was one line I had typed and erased more than 20 times. If one day you like guys too, please look my way just once. Good thing I never sent it. Otherwise, I'd probably be a laughingstock by now. 2 months later, I had almost learned how to bury the feeling. Nathaniel was still Nathaniel. Still sat next to me in the library. Still brought me an extra coffee because he knew I usually skipped breakfast. Still texted. Want to study together? Burgers tonight? You doing okay? We were close enough that a lot of people assumed we'd been best friends since high school. Only I knew how far apart we really were. Because I always had to remind myself of one thing. Don't fall for someone who's already taken. My name is Jasper, 21 years old. Born in Seattle but going to college in Illinois. My family is ordinary. Not rich. Not poor. The one thing that made my parents proud was that I'd been earning my own money since I was 18. I worked as a teaching assistant, did freelance software work, and most of all, tutored. Tutoring was the job I loved most. Not for the money, but because I genuinely loved watching someone go from understanding nothing to solving a hard problem on their own. Felt like watching a seed grow day by day. Maybe that's why so many students recommended me to each other. My tutoring schedule was always full, until one Friday night. My phone rang. The caller ID lit up. Nathaniel. I stared at the screen for almost 10 seconds before answering. Jasper. Yeah. Are you busy? Depends. Nathaniel gave a small laugh. I wanted to ask you for a favor.
I'm listening.
For the first time since we'd met, I heard exhaustion in his voice. I didn't know who else to ask but you. My heart beat faster. What happened? It's my little brother. I frowned. You have a brother?
Ido.
You never mentioned him. Nathaniel laughed. He just transferred here this semester. A new student? Yeah. What's going on? Nathaniel sighed. He's at risk of being suspended. I was a little stunned. That's serious? Not because he's been causing trouble. Then why? He's failed almost every programming test. I stayed quiet. Nathaniel went on. He won't study with anyone. But yesterday he happened to watch one of your lecture videos on the department forum. And he said, Nathaniel let out a helpless laugh. If this guy teaches me, I'll actually study. I laughed too. The kid's got taste. Please say yes. I looked at my packed schedule on my laptop. Not a single free evening left. If I took on another student, I'd have to cut into my sleep. Logic said I should decline. But my heart whispered something else. That's Nathaniel's little brother. Finally I asked, what's the rate? Nathaniel answered right away. Name your price. I'm not asking because of money. I know. There was silence on the line for a few seconds. Then Nathaniel spoke very quietly. Jasper. Thank you at least for considering it. For some reason, that single sentence was enough to erase every hesitation I had. Okay. Really? Yeah. Nathaniel let out a clear sigh of relief. Thank you. I'll try.
No.
Huh. I trust you. Not I hope. Not I wish. But I trust you. I smiled to myself. Even knowing I shouldn't. Even knowing Nathaniel already had someone. Even knowing this was just an ordinary tutoring arrangement. I still couldn't resist the pull to get a little closer to him. Just a little. I had no idea that, in the very first lesson with Nathaniel's little brother, I would discover a secret powerful enough to overturn everything I'd believed for the past year. The first lesson was set for Tuesday evening. Instead of meeting at the library like most of my other students, Nathaniel texted me an address about a 10-minute drive from campus. It was a quiet residential area, mostly home to families and graduate students. The 2 rows of maple trees out front had already begun turning deep red. The pale yellow porch lights made the whole street feel warmer than the bustle around campus. I stood in front of house number 214, checking my backpack for my laptop, textbook, and workbook. The doorbell had barely finished ringing when the door opened almost instantly. The person standing there wasn't Nathaniel. It was a younger guy, a few years younger, with messy black hair like he'd just woken up, wearing sweatpants and an oversized hoodie. One earbud was still in. He looked me up and down. I'm guessing you're Jasper. That's right.
I'm Ethan.
He stepped aside.
Come in.
His voice carried absolutely no enthusiasm. I stepped in while Ethan yawned on the way. Let me say this up front. Yeah, I hate programming. I know. I hate math. Right? I also hate studying. I laughed. So what do you like? Ethan answered immediately. Baseball. Bad news then. Why? I didn't bring a bat today. For the first time he laughed. Just a short one. But enough for me to know Nathaniel had been right. This kid wasn't a troublemaker. He'd just lost his motivation. Our classroom was the kitchen table. Just from glancing at his first test, I understood why Ethan's grades had been so bad. It wasn't that he wasn't smart. Quite the opposite. Every step of his reasoning was correct. He just always stopped halfway through. You got this far. Why didn't you keep writing? Ethan shrugged. Bored. Why bored? Because I already know it's going to be wrong anyway. Says who? The grades. I stayed quiet for a moment, then closed the workbook. No studying today. Ethan looked confused. Huh. Let's get ice cream. You coming or not? Why? I want to know what kind of person my student actually is. Ethan looked at me like he suspected I'd lost my mind. But in the end, he came along. The ice cream shop was on the corner. We ordered 2 milkshakes and sat out on the porch. After nearly 10 minutes, Ethan finally spoke. How long have you and Nathan known each other? Almost a year now. You guys close? I think so. Ethan stirred his chocolate shake. He rarely asks anyone for help. Seemed normal to me.
No.
Ethan shook his head. You don't get it. Why not? Nathan doesn't trust people easily. I was a little surprised. In my eyes, Nathaniel was always open. Easy to get close to. Polite with everyone. Ethan gave a faint smile. He's just good at hiding it. What do you mean? Our parents got divorced when we were little. I froze. Ethan watched the traffic pass by. Nathan basically raised me. I had never known this. Nathaniel had never told me. Whenever Mom had a night shift, he'd cook for us himself. Take me to school himself. Teach me my homework himself. Get a part-time job himself. He's always thinking about everyone else. Ethan turned to look at me. That's also why I agreed to study with you. Why's that? Because it's been a long time since I've seen Nathan actually trust someone. My heart sank a little. I didn't know whether to feel happy or scared. The lesson ended around 9 that night. As I stepped out the door, a dark blue SUV had just pulled up in front of the house. Nathaniel got out. His shirt hadn't been changed yet, his tie loosened, a takeout box in his hand. He'd probably just finished his internship shift. Seeing me, Nathaniel smiled. "How'd it go?" "Better than I expected," Ethan shouted from inside the house. "Don't ask." Nathaniel laughed. "Sounds like you two get along." Somewhat, my foot." Ethan poked his head out. "Jasper here pulled some stunt." "What did I do?" "He wouldn't let me study." Nathaniel frowned at me. I just smiled. I had him learn not to be afraid of studying first. Nathaniel was quiet for a few seconds, then nodded slightly. "I get it." Just those 2 words. No more questions.
No suspicion.
As if he trusted whatever decision I made. "Let me drive you home," Nathaniel offered. "No need." "Where's your bike?" "I take the bus." "Get in." Jasper." He looked at me. "Let me have the chance to say thank you." I stopped refusing. The car was very quiet. The radio played a soft country song. Nathaniel focused on driving. I watched the streetlights slide past the window. "You started your internship already?" Nathaniel nodded. "A cybersecurity company." "Tough." "It's fine." "And you?" "Still tutoring." Nathaniel smiled. "I know." "How?" "Ethan just texted me." "That was fast." "He said." Nathaniel tried to hold back a laugh. "Jasper's kind of weird but fun." I burst out laughing. Is that supposed to be a compliment? Coming from Ethan, yes. The car stopped in front of the dorm. I unbuckled my seatbelt. "Thanks," Nathaniel called out before I opened the door. "Jasper." "Yeah. Thank you for today. I only taught 1 lesson."
No.
Nathaniel looked straight into my eyes. "Thank you for making my little brother laugh." In that moment, I suddenly realized something. All evening, Nathaniel hadn't mentioned his boyfriend once. Not a single text. Not a single call. Not a single plan to meet up. The moment that thought crossed my mind, I scolded myself immediately. Don't read into it. Don't build up false hope. And yet, the very next morning, a chance conversation with Ethan would cause the first cracks to appear in everything I'd believed about Nathaniel's mysterious boyfriend. The second lesson took place on Thursday afternoon. This time, Ethan texted me first. "Ethan, don't eat dinner." I laughed when I saw the message. "Me, why not?" The 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, appeared again. Finally, he sent exactly 3 words.
"I'm cooking."
I thought Ethan was joking, until I walked into the familiar house and smelled tomato sauce, butter, and toasted bread filling the whole living room. Ethan was fumbling around the kitchen in a green apron that read, "Kiss the cook." I burst out laughing. "Where'd you get that apron?" Ethan turned red. "Mom bought it." "Understood." "Don't laugh." "I'm not laughing." "You are laughing." "I'm trying not to." Ethan glared at me. "Nathan said if I want someone to patiently teach me, I should at least treat them to a meal." I paused a little. "Nathaniel said that?" "Yeah." "When?" "The day you agreed to tutor me." Ethan set a plate of noodles on the table. He also said. "Said what?" "Jasper will refuse if you try to repay him with money or gifts. But if you cook for him with your whole heart, he'll be happy." I looked down at the plate of noodles. For some reason my eyes started to sting. Nathaniel paid more attention to me than I ever realized. After dinner, we started studying. Unlike the first lesson, Ethan actively asked questions. "Why does this loop run forever? What if I swap these 2 lines? Can I do it a different way?" I only guided him, never solved it for him. After nearly 2 hours, Ethan finished his first assignment entirely on his own, without looking at any answer key. He stared at the screen, then turned to me. "It's really done? You did it yourself." I thought I was stupid. "Who said that?" "The grades." I smiled. "Grades only tell you where you are right now. They don't decide where you'll end up." Ethan stayed silent for a long time, then nodded. Maybe that was the first real lesson he'd actually learned. Right then, the front door opened. Nathaniel walked in. His laptop bag was still on his shoulder. His hair a little messy, like he'd just taken off a motorcycle helmet. Something smells good. Ethan crossed his arms. I cooked. Nathaniel looked at the neatly cleared table, then at me. You already ate? Yeah. Nathaniel smiled. He's never cooked for me before. Don't exaggerate. It's true. Ethan pretended to be annoyed. That's because you're always home late. Because I have to work. I know. The dynamic between the two brothers felt completely natural. They teased each other, bickered a bit, then laughed again. Watching them, I suddenly felt homesick. Missed my parents. Missed my little sister. It had been almost 8 months since I'd been back to Seattle. How'd it go? Nathaniel asked once Ethan went upstairs to get his books. Good. How good? I think he'll pass the midterm. Nathaniel let out a breath of relief. Thank God. I haven't done much. You don't understand. Nathaniel leaned against the kitchen counter. 3 weeks ago he was talking about dropping the major. I was startled. Dropping out?
No.
Nathaniel shook his head. He just thought he wasn't good enough. I looked up toward the stairs. A wave of sympathy for Ethan settled in my chest. Maybe a lot of students are like that. They don't fail because they lack ability. They fail because they convince themselves too early that they're worthless. When Ethan came back down, we studied for another hour. Around 9, I packed up my things. Nathaniel offered to drive me home again. This time I didn't refuse. It had started to rain. Small drops tapped against the windshield. Nathaniel turned on the wipers. Do you like rain? Depends. Depends. If I'm at home, I like it. If you have to walk in it, then I hate it. Nathaniel laughed. Same here. We laughed together. A comfortable silence stretched on. Not the least bit awkward. I realized this was what I liked most about being around Nathaniel. We never had to force a topic. The silence between us had never once felt uncomfortable. Red light. The car stopped. Nathaniel suddenly asked, Jasper. Yeah. Have you ever been in love? I froze. Yes. Nathaniel kept looking straight ahead. Long.
No.
Why not? Because. I swallowed. That person doesn't know. Nathaniel turned to look at me. Unrequited. I laughed. Yeah. You've never told them? Never. Why not?
I'm afraid.
Afraid of being rejected? Worse than that. Worse. I'm afraid of losing the friendship entirely. Nathaniel nodded slightly. His gaze dropped. I understand. Those 2 words came out very quietly, but enough for me to feel there was something deeper in them than just sympathy. Has something similar happened to you? I asked. Nathaniel didn't answer right away. Just then the light turned green. He kept driving. Almost a full minute passed before he spoke. Maybe. I was really scared too once. Scared of what? Nathaniel smiled. Can't say. I was about to ask more, but he'd already changed the subject. When the car stopped in front of my dorm, I was about to get out when Nathaniel's phone lit up. A name appeared. Mom. He answered right away. It's me. I was about to step out to give him privacy. But right then, a woman's voice came through loud enough that I accidentally overheard. Nathan. This weekend don't forget to take Ethan to see. She paused for a moment. And if you have time, stop by and visit Daniel too. Nathaniel answered very calmly. Okay. How's he been lately? Nathaniel looked out the window. Same as always. Make sure to encourage him. I know, Mom. The call ended. I hadn't meant to eavesdrop, but one detail left me unable to stop wondering. Daniel? Not the boyfriend's name. Someone else? Or just a friend? Nathaniel put his phone away and smiled as if nothing had happened. Sleep well. You too. I got out of the car. The door had barely shut when a question rose in my mind. If Nathaniel really was in a happy relationship, why did his eyes always look so lonely whenever the topic of love came up? And I had no idea that, just a few days later, Ethan himself would accidentally reveal a truth that would leave me frozen in place. right in the middle of a lesson. I'm not the type who likes prying into other people's business. Maybe because since I was little, my parents taught me something very simple. If someone wants to tell you, they will. So even though more and more questions about Nathaniel kept surfacing in my mind, I still tried not to ask. If he wanted to share, I would listen. If not, I would respect that too. At least, that's what I thought I would do. The next lesson took place on a Sunday afternoon. I arrived 15 minutes early. The doorbell had barely rung when Ethan opened the door right away. "You're just in time. What's up? Help me with something." "What is it?" Ethan pulled me into the living room and pointed at a ladder set up in front of the bookshelf. Light bulbs burned out. "Nathan won't let me climb up." "Why not? I fell last time." "Off the ladder?"
No.
Ethan scratched his head. "Off a chair." I burst out laughing. "Fine." It took less than 2 minutes to replace the bulb. As soft yellow light spread across the living room, Ethan whistled. "Told you. You're good at fixing things." "I study computer science." "Still counts as fixing." "That's completely different." "Same thing to me." I shook my head, laughing. This kid always had a way of making conversations feel light. The lesson that day went very smoothly. Ethan finished almost all his homework. He even found a bug in a program I had deliberately planted to test him. "Found it!" He cheered with excitement. "Good. I've never had this much fun with programming before." "It's not that programming is fun." "Why then?" "It's because you're not afraid of it anymore." Ethan rested his chin on his hand, looking at me. "Jasper. Did you ever want to be a teacher?" I laughed. "A lot of people ask me that." "So what's the answer?" "I used to want to. And then, I changed my mind." "Why?" "I wanted to build software instead." "Then why do you still tutor?" I looked at the whiteboard covered in pen marks. "Because there are things money can't buy." "Like what?" "The look on a student's face when they finally understand something." Ethan went quiet for a moment, then laughed. "That sounds cheesy." "I know. But kind of cool too." Around 4 in the afternoon, Ethan said he was going to get some water. While I waited, I casually tidied up the books on the table. A small piece of paper fell to the floor. I bent down to pick it up. It wasn't a study document. It was a photo printed from a color printer. 2 people were in it, Nathaniel and another young man. The 2 of them stood side by side in front of the ocean. Nathaniel was smiling brightly. The other guy had his arm draped over Nathaniel's shoulder. My heart sank. Maybe this was the boyfriend Nathaniel had once mentioned. I was about to put the photo back when Ethan walked back in. He saw the photo in my hand and froze. "Oh."
I'm sorry.
I quickly set it down. "I didn't mean to." Ethan walked over and picked up the photo. He said nothing for a long moment. Finally, he let out a soft sigh. "You think that's Nathan's boyfriend, don't you?" I didn't know how to answer. I just stayed quiet. Ethan looked at the photo a few seconds longer, then shook his head. "He's not." I looked up. "He's not."
No.
"Then who is he?" Ethan pressed his lips together, as if weighing whether to say it or not. "That's Daniel." I immediately remembered the name I'd overheard during the phone call with Nathaniel's mom. "His friend." Ethan gave a very sad smile. "Yeah. The only one." "The only one?" "His closest friend." Before I could ask more, Ethan continued. "Daniel died 3 years ago." I froze completely. "Died?" Ethan nodded.
À car accident.
The room went so quiet I could hear the wall clock ticking. "Nathan never told you?" I shook my head.
No.
"I figured as much." Ethan sat down in a chair. "He almost never brings it up." I looked at the photo again. For the first time, I noticed. Nathaniel's smile in that picture was completely different. Radiant, carefree, nothing like the composed calm I was used to seeing. "Daniel was a really good person," Ethan said softly. "He used to take me to baseball games. Used to bring pizza over every weekend. Used to argue with Nathan because they were both stubborn." I didn't know what to say. Ethan gently smoothed the edge of the photo. The day Daniel died, Nathan barely spoke to anyone for months. Ever since then, there's never really been anyone close enough to pull him out of that world of his. I swallowed hard. A thought suddenly struck me. So, at that welcome party, Ethan looked at me. When Nathan said he had a boyfriend, that was a lie. My eyes widened. Ethan nodded very slowly. Every time someone confesses to him, he says the same thing. Why? Ethan smiled faintly. So he doesn't have to explain. Explain what? That he's still not ready to open his heart to anyone. I didn't know what to call the feeling in that moment. Relief or heartbreak. Nathaniel didn't have a boyfriend, but that didn't mean his heart was empty. It only meant there was a void that had never been filled. And maybe Nathaniel didn't want anyone to fill it, either. Just then, the front door opened. Nathaniel was home. He walked into the living room, smiling as always. How far did you two get? I looked at him. For the first time since we'd met, I wasn't just seeing the calm, gentle guy in front of me. I was seeing someone who had once lost the most important person in his life. And the moment our eyes met, I suddenly understood why Nathaniel's smile was always so beautiful, yet his eyes had never truly known how to smile. I didn't bring up Daniel. Didn't ask Ethan anything more either. Some stories don't belong to us. If Nathaniel wanted to tell me, he would. If not, I had no right to touch that wound just to satisfy my own curiosity. So when Nathaniel walked into the living room carrying a pizza box, I just smiled as if nothing had happened. Hungry yet. He held up the box. Ethan cheered immediately. You promised pepperoni. There's pepperoni and cheese both. Nathaniel set the box on the table. I knew you'd complain. Obviously, the two brothers started arguing over who got the bigger slice. I sat watching, unable to help laughing. This house always had a strange kind of atmosphere. Warm, peaceful. But somewhere in it, there was still a sense that a piece was missing. Now I knew why. After dinner, Ethan went upstairs to finish his homework. I got ready to leave too. Nathaniel walked me to the door. Got a few minutes? Of course. Let's walk. I was a little surprised. Right now? Yeah. I thought you were tired. Nathaniel smiled. Sitting at the office all day is more tiring than walking. We left the house and followed the small path leading to the park by the lake. The sun had almost fully set. The water reflected the pale orange of dusk, and the early autumn breeze carried the scent of freshly cut grass. A group of students was playing frisbee nearby. Farther off, a few couples sat on wooden benches. Neither of us said anything for almost 5 minutes. Strangely, the silence didn't feel heavy at all. It felt like we were both savoring a rare moment where we didn't have to think about homework, work, or one deadline after another. Finally, Nathaniel spoke. Ethan's improving faster than I expected. He's smart, but stubborn. True. Nathaniel laughed. Just like me. I tilted my head. I thought you'd say he's like your dad. Nathaniel paused, just for a brief moment.
No.
His voice softened. I hope not. I realized I'd accidentally touched on a subject he didn't want to talk about. Luckily, Nathaniel changed the subject himself. Jasper. Do you ever regret always helping other people? Why are you asking? Nathaniel shrugged. I was just thinking. You spend so much time on other people. Students. Friends. TA work. Do you ever feel like there's no time left for yourself? I thought about it for a few seconds. Yes. Then why keep doing it? I once asked my dad that same question. Nathaniel turned to look at me. What did he say? My dad was a firefighter when I was a kid. Nathaniel nodded. He said. I looked out at the lake. You don't help other people because you have spare time. You do it because you hope that when it's your turn to need help, the world will still have people willing to reach out. Nathaniel stayed quiet. For a long time. By the time we'd walked all the way around the lake, he finally gave a soft laugh. Your dad is an amazing person. Yeah. I like the way he thinks. So do I. That night, Back at the dorm, I got a text from Nathaniel. Nathaniel, thanks for today. I replied almost instantly. Me, for the lesson? About a minute later.
Nathaniel, no.
I waited. The 3 dots appeared, disappeared again. Then a new message came through. For making that house full of laughter again. I read that line over and over. It wasn't long. Wasn't anything special. But for some reason, my heart was pounding. The next 2 weeks passed by quickly. Ethan kept improving. His first quiz score jumped from 48 to 81. The day he found out, Ethan shouted so loud the entire dorm floor thought someone had won the lottery. He called me first, then called Nathaniel. That evening, Nathaniel took us both out to celebrate. It was just a small burger place near campus, but Ethan celebrated like he'd just won a national championship. Told you. He raised his soda cup high. I'm not stupid. Nathaniel clinked cups with his little brother. I never thought you were stupid. Then why'd you keep making me study? Because I knew you could do it. Ethan turned to me. What about you, Jasper? What do you think of me? Me? What do you think of me? I smiled. I think you're the kind of person who just needs someone to believe in him. Ethan didn't say anything. He just looked down and bit into a French fry. I noticed the corners of his eyes were a little red. Maybe he didn't even realize it himself. After dinner, Ethan said he wanted to run to the convenience store for ice cream. Nathan. He stood up. You coming with me? Nathaniel shook his head. I'll stay here. Then. Ethan looked over at me. Jasper. I'll go. Nathaniel answered first. Ethan raised an eyebrow. You? Yeah. Suit yourself. The 2 brothers left the table. I stayed behind alone. Right then, Nathaniel's phone, left on the table, lit up. A message appeared. Unlocked. I wasn't trying to look. It was just right there in front of me. Mom, have you decided whether you're going to tell Jasper yet? I immediately turned away. My heart pounded. Tell me what? Less than a minute later, Nathaniel came back to grab his wallet, which he'd forgotten. Seeing me sitting there, he smiled. Sorry. Forgot my wallet. No worries. Nathaniel picked up his phone. His eyes flicked across the screen. I saw the smile on his lips vanish for just an instant. Then he turned the screen off. You. I was about to say I hadn't read it, but Nathaniel just shook his head. It's fine. His voice was very soft. Don't worry about it. That was the first time since we'd met. I clearly sensed that Nathaniel was hiding something from me. Not because he didn't trust me, but because he still didn't have the courage to say it out loud. And I had absolutely no idea that, just a few days later, that very secret would come to light in a situation neither of us could have ever expected.